Good evening, everyone. Today we continue our story, The Twin Bandits Part 6, so listen and enjoy. The Mask. Victoria's armed robbery squad operated out of the Russell Street Police Headquarters in downtown Melbourne. A blonde brick skyscraper crowned with a tall metal radio mast, the building stood across the road from the old Melbourne jail, where Ned Kelly was hanged. 19 investigators had been allocated to the squad, and they were spread thin. Detective Sergeant Jimmy Loudon, who led one of the squad's 6 crews, was in charge of the investigation into the prolific tab robber, known initially as the machine gun bandit because the assault rifle he sometimes carried resembled an automatic weapon. By August 1978, John Beaver and Patrick Breer were running lead on the case. Beaver and Breer started by revisiting each crime scene. The detectives drove long distances to talk to small-town cops and re-interview witnesses, paying close attention to physical details of the bandit and his routine. He usually struck at around 7 p.m., and police noticed that he hadn't been very active during the Australian summer of 1977–78. The officers concluded that this was because the summer months brought more daylight hours, preventing the bandit from using darkness to his advantage. The robber was hitting targets all across southern Victoria, from windy Great Ocean Road in the west to the farm-studded flatlands of Wellington Shire in the east. Beaver and Breer were especially baffled by robberies in Dromina and Sorrento that had occurred within 30 minutes of each other. The coastal towns were 15 miles apart on the Mornington Peninsula, a narrow boot-shaped strip of land south of Melbourne known for its vineyards, sheltered beaches, and great surf. As the bandit entered the agency in Sorrento, he told a female staff member, "Sorry I'm late, but I just held up the Dromina branch." Beaver and Breer were unable to cover the distance between the two towns in the time that elapsed between the robberies. "We were dealing with more than just your run-of-the-mill offender," Breer said. "We were looking for a very smart operative." Once the bandits' MO was established, Victoria Police launched a broad-based surveillance effort codenamed Operation Rimfire. The objective was to monitor tab agencies in areas where the bandit was operating, in particular between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. It was an enormous allocation of manpower for small-town police stations with just a handful of employees. Officers attended briefings and manned stakeouts in shifts. They were instructed to wear civilian clothes, stay near a telephone, and maintain radio contact. Meal breaks were forbidden. After the bandit struck while an officer was using the restroom, officers were ordered to hold their water, too. As the search dragged on, the police grew annoyed by the public's lack of assistance. The leader of Victoria's armed robbery squad, Detective Inspector Tom O'Keefe, told the press, "It's not a Ned Kelly fight between the coppers and the villain. It's not a game people can join in by watching on TV." He warned that the bandit was a potential psychopath and compared him to rapists and murderers. "It looks like it's a challenge to him," he said, "and we accept the challenge." Doug feared that the heavy bag of cash tied around his neck might drown him, but managed to reach the bank and drag himself ashore. Despite careful planning, close calls were unavoidable for the Morgan twins. During one escape, Doug encountered a roadblock on a bridge and had to slip into a swollen river to avoid detection. From under the bridge, he could see the cops above silhouetted by flashing lights. For a moment, he considered yelling for help. He feared that the heavy bag of cash tied around his neck might drown him, but managed to reach the bank and drag himself ashore. To stay ahead of police, the twins had to innovate. After one stick-up in the bayside town of Edithvale, Peter experimented with a novel getaway method, a timber canoe. He built it himself, along with a paddle, to prevent the police from tracing it to a store. He navigated into foggy Port Phillip Bay with his stolen cash in a waterproof container, watching the lights of the police cars as they raced into town. Suddenly, the canoe started to sink. He hadn't waterproofed it. Peter paddled frantically to shore, where he abandoned the vessel and hiked back to his car. One day, Peter was perusing a collection of novelty items at an agricultural show in Melbourne when he spotted a mask. It looked like the face of an ugly old man and had a mop of curly hair attached, long enough that it ran to Peter's collar. He decided that it offered perfect cover. He came to see the mask as the part of his robbery kit that distinguished him as a serious professional criminal, and resolved not to let his brother use it. That was fine with Doug, who used handkerchiefs and bandanas to cover his face during robberies. He had no interest in wearing Peter's mask, which he tried on just once. "It was a piece of shit," he told me. "Your vision was really bad out of it, so you didn't have peripheral." Peter felt that his brother was an unreliable partner. Doug wasn't balking at jobs anymore, but he was sometimes unavailable because of practice with his recreational football team. "I was full on," Peter said, whereas for whatever reason, Douglas became reluctant. Peter planned tab heists in Druin and Keeler without telling his brother. But tabs were beginning to feel too small time for the kind of criminal Peter saw himself as. In early 1978, he decided to hit his first bank.